Hello and welcome to IndiaPostLive.com, India's first live and interactive news conversation web TV. I'm Prachi Jatania. Now it's a curious case of the missing jackfruits and also of the missing buffaloes. Or was it really the stolen jackfruits? Of recently, JDU MP Mahendra Prasad lodged a police complaint because a few of the jackfruits in his official bungalow had been reported to be stolen or missing. He got the police teams of the Delhi police sent into a tizzy to form teams and try and locate who the culprit was and who had actually dared to get into his official bungalow to steal or possibly what is an alleged crime of taking these jackfruits. So now really, are we going to discuss what has happened to the apathy of our politicians? Should we sneer at the fact that an entire police team was actually dedicated towards not really fighting crime but trying to locate what had happened to a politician's personal orchard, fruits being stolen from his orchard? To give us more perspective on this entire conversation, we have in the studio joining us Dr. K.S. Subramanian. He is ex-DGP of Tripura, retired now. Thank you so much, Dr. Subramanian. We also have a very special guest joining us on Google Hangout, Ms. Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer. We also have Mr. Imran Ali, who's an advocate of the Delhi High Court. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. I'll get in a quick word from you, Mr. Subramanian. What are your first thoughts about the entire controversy of the Delhi police, being dedicated towards trying to find the JDU MP, Mr. Prasad's missing jackfruits?
Well, I'm not at all surprised by what you tell me, because Indian police are basically not a servant of the people. They are servant of their masters, and the masters are very feudal, and the Indian ruling class is both feudal and capitalist, a semi-feudal, semi-capitalist setup. And the Indian police, if you see the Indian Penal Code, the first opening part of the Indian Penal Code is all about security of the state, not security of persons. First 299 sections of the IPC do not deal with investigation and detection of cases. It's only at the section 300 of IPC, investigation and detection of cases starts. This is the priority of police everywhere in the world, but in India it is not the priority. The priority is state security, security of ruling people, and also the security, public order maintenance, secret intelligence collection, all for the service of the masters, nothing for the service of the people.
So ordinary people and their issues really being put on the less priority list by the police here. But just to play devil's advocate also, in UP's Rampur area, a senior UP ministers had actually said that buffaloes were reported missing. 3 cops were suspended because they were not able to really locate what had happened to these missing buffaloes. Ms. Bedi, what do you think of this entire scenario of where really our policing is being, channelized towards and directed towards the entire political class using it as their personal priority?
I think it stems from our culture. A culture of enslavement, culture of submission, culture of fear, culture of afraid to take a decision. It stems from our generic social culture of subjugation, inherited over centuries, which we have not undone. So it's an unquestioning behavior. Police, juniors, subordinates give unquestioning, yes sir, yes madam, ji hajur. It's all ji hajur culture. Who has the courage to say this is a very minor offense and we will not investigate this matter? Who will have the courage? They don't have the courage. Why? Because we've never empowered them to say no. And then what happens if they say no? What happens? They get punished, they get isolated, they get admonished, and also somewhere they take the anger out. So it's out of a culture. It is a cultural change so police is a part of that same subjugation culture. On the contrary, it's trained and disciplined to submit, not question. It's a submission, culture of submission. Therefore, jackfruit or a dog or a parrot or buffaloes, each one will get the same response, and sometimes serious response may get no response, as you happened in Badaयूं, where when the raped father of the 2 girls went to the Kotwal or to just one head constable and constable, they said we will not, हमको लिखना भी नहीं है, जाओ 1 घंटे के बाद आ जाएंगे या सुबह आ जाएंगी लेडी, उन्होंने लिखा भी नहीं, because it was not even a proper police post. There was no roles, no daily diary, there were no police, rural policing concept as such. So you see, it's a question of, and that constable, I believe one of the police officers was already there at that Yadav's house when the girls were already inside the house, as per the news reports.
Right.
So therefore, it's a culture of enslavement. There is no confidence in the poor policeman or the team, or say, this is a minor offense, we will not take cognizance. However, we'll take the security cognizance. Who has intruded? We will look at into burglary of the issue because it's been a security breach.
Exactly.
We look at a security breach,
right,
and not the theft. Even the member parliament has written, मेरे 2 jackfruits चोरी हो गए. Instead of saying मेरे यहाँ intrude हो गया और मेरे यहाँ security lapse हुआ, he's also written मेरे 2 jackfruits चोरी हुए. Instead of saying मेरे यहाँ intrusion हुई security की, and therefore I want the security breach to be looked into. You see, the issue, one of dominance, as Mr. Subramaniam said, and one of subjugation, which I've explained, which comes out of the culture.
Very interesting points by Ms. Bedi. Mr. Subramaniam, like she's actually, Ms. Bedi is pointing out to the truth. The crux of the matter is that it was an intrusion, by somebody, an unknown, person, a stranger. So that didn't seem to be what was worrying the Delhi police or the police team as such. It was the fact that it was the theft in such, the act of the crime that was, what sent the police teams into a tizzy to get their act together and find who the culprit possibly was. So it clearly shows a lack of priorities and the lack of focus of how our political class also behaves.
You see, what Kiran Bedi said today extends right up to the top in the police structure. If you look at the way the senior police officers behave, I know I have seen a police commissioner of New Delhi touching the feet of the Home Minister. He is not expected to touch the feet of the Home Minister. You have to give him a proper salute. He didn't do that. He gave a salute and also touched the feet of the Home Minister. That means, you see, the whole culture of feudalism extends right to the top. If you go to the top, very top officers, they are all sycophants. Many of them are sycophants. They are looking for next opening, next promotion, next posting, next transfer, and they are not able to stand up and speak their mind. And that is the basic defect of the Indian administrative system as a whole, which is very much part of the police culture as well. It is both an administrative culture, police structure, and also social problem. Yeah.
On that note, we look at what exactly went about in the case of the missing jackfruits, and are our politicians really so silly, and is this matter something to be taken seriously at all? Take a look.
It's a story that sent Delhi police in a tizzy. After all, it was a crime that they had probably never investigated before. And how often do cops get to find missing jackfruits? Yes, jackfruits. JDU MP Mahendra Prasad filed a complaint with the police last weekend as 2 out of the 7 jackfruits hanging from the tree went missing from his 4 Tughlaq Road bungalow. Police formed a special team and CCTV footage was also examined to find the culprits. Earlier in February, UP's senior minister had lashed out at the local police when his buffaloes had gone missing from his residence in western UP's Rampur. Sniffer dogs were pressed into service till the 7 buffaloes were finally recovered. 3 cops were suspended in the process. The apathy of our netas towards society is well known, but their sensitivity towards things dearer to them makes one wonder whether a day will come when they will feel the same way about the people and constituencies that they represent.
So, very important question that we are asking, will our netas really shed their apathy towards their citizenry and use the police machinery in a more effective manner and not divert their attention into petty matters that actually only concern them? I'll get in Mr. Imran Ali, advocate of the Delhi High Court. At this point, Mr. Imran, I believe we have lost his connection, but I'll get in Ahan Chopra also. Ahan, you are a citizen of Delhi. What is your take on this entire issue? It's somehow turning into a very silly controversy.
Thanks for having me. But when I got to know about this news, my first reaction was, is this a joke? Is this something to be taken seriously of? I mean, in a country like India where rape occurs every 20 minutes, how can someone be so foolish that theft of the jackfruit is being taken seriously. I just can't understand this.
Right. Does it make you angry or frustrated that the Delhi police, when they could actually be tackling crime, solving other problems of the citizens and addressing rising crime figures in the capital, they are actually, their entire energy is being diverted to trying to trace who actually stole those jackfruits?
Yeah, it angers me. The whole police force is being used to tackle these pet issues of these politicians, like the theft of the buffalo or these jackfruits. Whereas the crime rate has been on a high in these recent years. Rape, molestation issues, everything is on a rise. So the Delhi police should tackle those issues rather than being a kiss up to these politicians.
Right, right. Sucking up to the political masters. I'll try and get Miss Bedi again, ma'am. The solution then lies in trying to detach the police force from their political masters and the everyday influence that they actually bear on the police teams, a police machinery.
No, the answer lies in inculcating courageous culture, courage of leadership, courage of courageous leadership. When if your leader is weak, as Mr. Subramanian was saying, when he found a Director General Police touching the feet instead of saluting a Home Minister, touching the feet, the problem begins from here. Problem begins from here. And if he's an afraid leader, how do you expect poor head constable or a constable to say no to a very popular member of the parliament or of the ruling party? The problem is in our leadership. They get selected on merit. They come with very high backgrounds of education without any sense of courage. I think it goes back to our education system. It goes back to our nurturance in the families. Our parents do not teach self-respect and courage, or children don't learn it, or they forget it, and then our educational system does not teach questioning. When you have been selected on merit, what business do you have to be afraid? Afraid of what? You are there as Director General of Police to lead a force, lead a force of millions. UP has about almost 3 lakh police force. Delhi police is almost 100,000. You need leaders. The point, I think, what this country is not allowing to happen, or not encouraging, or not grooming, is leadership. Right. Courageous leadership. I think the fault lies in the police leadership. And politicians will be politicians as they are. The IPS doesn't come with a guarantee that I'll not be transferred here and I'll be posted here and I have an increment here or I have this designation here. Let that come. To hell with that. You have come here to lead a force. You jolly well lead the force. Whatever your posting, whatever your transfer, whatever your fear, don't pass on the fears to your juniors. I think the problem lies in the police leadership, and it has to take the blame. The problem is sometimes you have a courageous leader who is then kowtowed around or pushed around. That doesn't matter. Let all of us be courageous. Look at the bureaucrats, to the civil servants. What's happening in the bureaucracy today? What is the Prime Minister doing today? Compelling them to come at 9 a.m. in the office. Do these seniors need to be told to come at 9 a.m.? Do these seniors need to be told that golf is not for 9 a.m.? It is offices for 9 a.m.? The problem is in our leadership of the civil services today. And it is self-acquired fear. It is sometimes given, but self-acquired. And don't blame others. You acquire fear, you acquire courage. The problem is in our IPS leadership at the moment. The few are courageous, the majority is afraid. The few courageous actually spill the beans and show what is going wrong with the system. But majority is afraid, and the problem is they themselves. Politicians will be politicians. Right. They have to be learned to hear a no.
Right. Do you agree with Ms. Bailey?
Yes, certainly. But I would rather emphasize the role of the political structure.
Exactly.
And the administrative and police structure. In 1983, Mr. David Bailey, the leading scholar on Indian police, he came and said, the police are preoccupied with politics, penetrated by politics, and participating in it individually and collectively. If that is the opinion of a leading expert on the Indian police, why only blame the senior leaders of the police? They are certainly very much to blame. At the same time, look at the entire structure. The structure promotes sycophancy, the structure promotes subservience, subordination. And therefore, what is needed is far-reaching legal and political reforms, which is not there in India today. Whatever efforts were made to reform the police structure have been defeated by the politicians. Politicians are not interested in police reforms. Even senior officers may be interested in police reforms because they are all subjected to this culture of sycophancy, and they have to conform in order to go ahead in their service. Therefore, they don't do it. Everybody becomes subservient. Those who are independent and courageous and so on, they will have to get out of the service. As happened in my case, I became totally marginalized because I would not be a subservient subordinate.
But then it's a shame then that the power play, the dynamics that exist between the political class and the police machinery and the police leadership, then that every time, nobody really respects or honors the men in uniform, the men, the police, people who are actually protecting these lawmakers, our politicians are actually then being abused or, misled or told to, look into petty personal tasks also.
I know one police officer, I don't want to name him, he was a personal security officer to the Prime Minister, and he ended up becoming so many important posts in the country. He became governor for so many years. Only recently he was asked to leave the service. So it pays to be a sycophant. In our system, sycophancy is very much paying. If you are like Kiran Bedi, you will have to fight all your life.
Right. Yes, Ms. Bedi?
Fight all your life. You win all your life.
Fight and win if you can.
You don't fight, you win.
Okay.
You challenge, you deliver, you acquire, you achieve. You lead.
If that's what you think. But
you
then,
inspire. You don't lose.
Well,
you don't fight.
Good.
This is what I believe in.
That's very good. I like it.
Ms. Bedi, then do you agree with Mr. Subramanian's point that there is a culture of sycophancy that still exists and continues to be encouraged, or there doesn't seem to be any way out for the police machinery or the leadership to, not bow down to the political class?
It begins with the leader. It begins with the leader. Nobody else is going to induct a B-complex injection of courage for you. If you are already afraid of your neck, you are insecure because you're selfish. You are looking at your next position. You're looking at your next posting. You're looking at a post-retirement benefit. The problem is with you. And others will then benefit from build on your insecurities and use you. The problem is you. The change begins with you. The change begins with the Director Generals of Police. And police reforms are the package of police reforms in the Supreme Court judgment, which is Mr. Prakash Singh's the judgment which he steered completely. Is there are many aspects which are possible without the politician coming in. You can do internal reforms according to the police the judgment of the reforms, like the transparency in your SHO postings and transfers. Politician need not. There is supposed to be an establishment board which is internal. Why don't you have it? Why can't the Director General of Police have an establishment board, which is one of the recommendations in the judgment? You don't need to wait for a Home Minister to tell you. You as Director General of Police can have it. And then what you want transparency from the top, you can give that transparency to your subordinates, to the postings of SHOs, to the beat officers, to the investigating officers, to the assistant, to the DSPs, to the constabulary. Even their SHOs are transferred overnight without any tenures. Why can't we give a proper tenure to our SHO and keep him till he continues to perform? So what we want from others, why doesn't the leadership give to its subordinates and its own team?
Right.
So it begins with you.
Correct. Very interesting points there raised by you, Ms. Bedi. In your experience during your tenure, at any point did you come across such kind of, not so serious kind of requests or complaints filed by the political class or any kind of minister or politician, or you just sneered at and shrugged it off, saying this need not be, diverted any kind of priority to?
We only helped if we could. If we had the time and the resources. Otherwise, we said, thank you. So, let me recall to you a very interesting thing. Of the police prison time, as the Inspector General of Prisons in Tihar, I was instructed they had a mass arrest outside. And Tihar jail already was very overcrowded. And the Delhi government told me that we are sending you a few more 100 prisoners. You need to keep them for the night. I categorically told the Chief Minister, I cannot take one more. I cannot take one more because I cannot have more sardines as it is. I'm overcrowded. I cannot have. They said, you say no. I said, I'm sorry. I'm saying it from security and health angles. So the point is, I had the courage to say no for the larger interest. What did they do? They had to declare certain other camp jails. Otherwise, if I'd said yes and if I'd submitted, they would have packed my Tihar jail and I would have probably had riots and death inside. So it was my duty and the courage to say no for the sake of my prison establishment. Whether it's police or any government, you have to take the courage to say no, not for the sake of opposition, not for the sake of discipline and indiscipline or defiance. I'm all for discipline. I'm all for harmony, but I'm also for standing up for the institutional integrity of which one is a leader of. So
Well,
I had also many opposition. I had the courage. I had to say.
I'll
Right.
have to give you an example from my from my experience. For some time, I was IG of police in Manipur.
Yes.
At that time, two university professors came to me and said that some of their colleagues had been locked up by the police. I rang up the police officer and asked him, "Have you locked up the police with these academic people?" He said, "Yes, sir, we have locked up." I said, "Why did you lock up?" He said, "The chief minister ordered us to lock them up, so I locked them up." "Do you have any cases against them?" I asked them. He said, "No cases, only because the chief minister said we have locked them up." Then I said, "Well, if you don't have a case against them, you will have to release them." And they were released. The very next day, the chief minister rang me up and said, "Subramaniam, did you release those people from the university?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Why did you release them?" I said, "There is no case against them. They were locked up, completely unnecessary." Then he said, the chief minister got so angry, he said, "Subramaniam, you will pay the price for it." And he banged the phone down. And a few days later, the chief minister was shot dead. Nothing happened to me. I was expecting a change of posting, but that fellow, the chief minister, was shot dead. So that's a kind of scenario in different parts of the country. Police tend to behave in accordance with what the politicians want. That is
And
the
then
problem.
it becomes like a catch-22 situations. They don't know how to get out of it, whether to bow down and heed to what the
Yes.
political masters
It
are
is a
demanding.
catch-22 situation, a very bad situation really. And most of the majority of police officers, including very top police officers, they follow the line of least resistance. And you can't even blame them because they think that this is the best way to survive in the system if you want to remain as part of the system. You are not a social activist, you are serving the master government of the day. What can you do? You have to fight every day, It will be very
Hypothetically, if you had gotten a call about the missing buffaloes of a senior minister or of stolen mangoes or jackfruits, what would your reaction have been
I
if
would
you were in
tell-
the police when you
I
were?
would tell the person who asked me to do this, I would say, "You go to hell." I can't do it. It's not
Right.
my job.
Right. We'll try and get Mr. Imran Ali on the phone line possibly one last time. We'll try and get his connection. Ms. Bedi, then do you feel that if at all hypothetically you were ever in this kind of a situation of a senior minister calling you up to make a request to prioritize his police complaint about a missing jackfruit or a missing cow or buffalo, what would your first reaction be?
Well, my reaction would be that I would appreciate you have a right to report, but it's my duty to investigate what I must as a priority. But I would say I would look into the security breach and not into the fruit angle, Mr. Member of Parliament. I would just probably politely say that. So he'd get the message.
Right, right. Very interestingly, on that note, we invite our viewers also. We're asking a question. Do you feel our political leaders and the netas will ever shed their apathy and actually get the police force and the police machinery to do their job and focus on their jobs as hand and not divert their attention with petty matters or complaints of a personal nature? We'll get in your views on our Twitter handle @IndiaPostLive and our website indiapostlive.com. Put in your audio, video comments. You can also contact our panelists, guests here, Ms. Kiran Bedi on Twitter and Mr. Subramaniam, who will answer your queries. Before we go, a very interesting anecdote by a blogger, Ms. Anuradha Bakshi, who writes on Project Y. She in fact sneers through the entire incident of this matter of Mahendra Prasad, the member of parliament who reported and filed a police complaint about his missing jackfruit. She has dedicated the entire blog post recently on this, and towards the end of it, she has a very interesting anecdote and you can check it out. She says that in 1909, a jackfruit is a very interesting fruit, and probably why the MP was very persistent or insistent on finding them is that Okil Chandra Sen wrote to the divisional railway officer a letter in 1909, and this is how jackfruits were introduced on the Indian railways. This is how toilets were introduced on the Indian railways. Okil Chandra Sen actually wrote to the divisional railway officer saying that I had an upset tummy and I had nowhere to go when I was traveling on the train to Ahmedpur, and where are the facilities on your railways? So that's how this letter is actually on display at the Railway Museum. And on that note, put in your thoughts on what do you think about the case of the mysterious jackfruits, or the case of the political class really trying to divert our police, our administration and police into less trivial matters. Thank you so much all. Our guest, Mr. Subramaniam, for his time for joining us at the studio, and Ms. Kiran Bedi, thank you so much for having you again and your very interesting views on this topic. Thank you
My
so much
pleasure.
for joining us
Very happy to join you.
on the conversation at India Post Live. Do write in your views on this topic and many more interesting discussions coming up on indiapostlive.com. Keep watching. Goodbye.